everyone, I'm Virginia, one of our campus organizers. Today, talk about the evolution of remote video inspection through digital transformation. The last minute of presentation will be the question and answer part. Please write your question in the chat box. Thank you so much and have a good webinar.
Hi, and thank you, Virginia. And first of all, thank you, Valve Campus, for the opportunity. It's Andrea speaking, and I'll be one of the presenters today. I'm here also with Damir Ciappei, and we are gonna go through the speakers in a few seconds. So as you can see here, we're gonna have Mr. Tom Peacock, who's our Intertek Industry Digital Transformation Lead. There's gonna be me, an Operation Team Leader for Industry Division. James Canham, who's the Intertek Business Unit Manager for Industry, and Damir Ciappei, who's our Technical Manager.
Hello, everybody. Damir Ciappei from Intertek Italy, Technical Manager.
Okay, as said, we're gonna go through the RVI evolution, remote video inspections, and the first part will be handled by Tom Peacock. So I leave the floor to you, Tom.
Hi everyone, my name is Tom Peacock, one of the presenters on this presentation from Valve Campus. So I just thought I'd give myself a little introduction to start with before we sort of jump into the different segments that I'm going to be covering in my part of this this presentation. So just a brief introduction about myself. I've been with Intertek for the last 5 years. I started on one of the smaller product teams that was responsible for a digital reporting tool that Intertek has been pushing for the last few years. As a team of 3 of us, supporting over 1,000 technical specialists who are using that application every day. So I was thrown in at the deep end, and I think that's sort of given me a lot of experience when it comes to digital initiatives and things like RVI especially. But fast forward a few years, I'm now working as a digital transformation lead within the Attic business of Intertek. So being involved with not only RVI, but also the whole sort of overall picture of digital transformations and initiatives that Intertek are involved with. So that's anything from digital products, services, new offerings that we're looking at providing to our customers and clients. Obviously, one of which is RVI, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So before we jump into any specifics, I just wanted to give a sort of very sort of a wide overview of Intertek as a company and what we've sort of been up to in terms of RVI over the last couple of years. So as a company and obviously an industry leader, Intertek saw the use of, or the first use of RVI just about over 3 years ago now. We were asked to actually deliver an RVI solution for 2 LNG projects in North America. So that was the first sort of first year or so of our RVI history. And fast forward to the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Fast forwarding again to 2021, obviously we're just under halfway through the year now, and we've conducted about 1,700 remote video inspections through the tool that we're currently using. So that's involving 350 unique vendors and over 80 customers as well. So you know, that's great. We've got a good basis for RVI, and now we're investigating methods and ways that we can start to use RVI in other ways in terms of digital twin initiatives going forward. That's something we'll talk about later on in this presentation. So one of the key sort of subjects when it comes to RVIs is data security. It's one question that's always asked when we're doing product demos, and it's something that we feel is very important, which is why we want to address it first in this first segment of the presentation. So in terms of data security, there's many different aspects of it, and we'd be hard pressed to talk about all of them in this hour's presentation. But the first one, or a couple of the ones we'll be focusing on, is firstly how our RVI tool is hosted. how we transfer data and how we're securing that data in line with our internal SOPs and obviously third-party customer SOPs as well. So as Intertek work with a lot of high-profile companies who take their internal security very seriously, it was pivotal for us to find an RVI solution that met the needs of those people, or those customers. So initially we had to make a choice between either a cloud-hosted service or a physically hosted server. Of course, both of these have pros and cons, but ultimately a server hosted away from the cloud is generally more secure from both DDoS attacks and also attempts to, or vicious attempts to steal the information that they hold, they transfer and receive as well. So in our case, we work with a company called HPE. I'm sure many of you have heard of them already, Hewlett-Packard Enterprises. They host our service for us and also the RVI platform that we're using. So they're an enterprise level company. They've got a good reputation for data security. So for us, as security conscious people, they were a natural choice to be our service provider for that. To furthermore protect the security of our customers, we also worked with HPE to introduce 256-bit encryption to all the data channels that were transferred between Intertek and the supplier or customer in relation to the RVIs that were being carried out. And for those of you who aren't aware, 256-bit encryption is actually one of the most secure encryption technologies that's available on the market at the moment. So that's very important for us to have those credentials. So having that technology in place really allowed us to work with some of the most the biggest companies within the industry, companies including Saudi Aramco, who rightfully so have a reputation for being extremely security conscious when it comes to working with companies and working with data and software and hardware and things like that. And you can have as many technologies in place to support data security, but it's also pivotal to ensure that the people who are going to be using these technologies, who are going to be using these tools in the field, are also aware of the correct security protocols. And as a result, we had to create an SOP that sort of complemented our RVI offering that we were giving to customers, that not only our customers were able to read, but also our internal personnel, inspectors, technical managers, people like that. So that SOP covers all aspects of GDPR, best practice for data security, security protocols, and much more. As I said before, it was given or delivered to all of our trained RVI inspectors, and also offered to the customers and vendors alike before RVI was carried out. And I think that's very pivotal. It's important to ensure that everyone's comfortable with the security that's in place before starting an RVI project. Moving on, so next up we've got connectivity. Again, connectivity is probably one of the biggest issues we faced while delivering our RVI tool across the world. Another reason we went with HPE is because they offer a service whereby they can actually enable low bandwidth streaming through the software that they offer. And as a result, it means that we can work in much lower bandwidth environments than competitors' tools. So whereas your normal sort of consumer grade products like Teams or Skype or Zoom will work at around about 100 kbps, our tool, our HPE tool, will work at around 40 kbps. So again, we've got an upper hand there when we're working in sort of remote locations or areas that have sort of limited connectivity, and of course that can then impact the effectiveness of an RVI. Even with that advantage in our hands, there's many instances where vendor facilities didn't actually have any connectivity on their shop floors, or where they did have connectivity, it was very weak, and even our low bandwidth technology was not able to work as we would have expected. In fact, there's one particular instance where we were working with a mill in USA, in Central America, and it was located about 50 miles from the nearest inhabitation. So you can imagine their connectivity was not where it needed to be to support a remote video inspection. So we worked with that vendor over a number of weeks, and we helped them install not only a new and more capable router in their shop and their office, but install many network boosters around the shop floor as well. So we recommended them the right products to purchase. They went out and purchased them, installed them, and as a result, the outcome was absolutely fantastic. We were able to carry out the RVI as planned. The vendor was also thankful as well, due to having a better connection on their shop floor and within their offices. And this is just another example of the importance of having an agile mentality when working with technology in such a fast-paced industry. It's important to be able to think on your feet and also go sort of above and beyond of what your customers and suppliers would expect from you. So that's connectivity, and then moving on to another issue in terms of connectivity restriction. We work with a number of different clients in the Middle East where there's actually restrictions on networks. So even if you have the best connection in the world, you still can't use many products and services on networks, on specific networks in the Middle East. So that's another roadblock we had to overcome. In actual fact, the workaround for that is actually pretty simple. So we did a bit of research, we looked at what works, what doesn't, and the end result was in the form of a personal Wi-Fi connection device. So the inspector or whoever's operating the camera on the site will carry that around with them at the facility. It will give them a local connection to the internet or to a Wi-Fi connection, and essentially that bypasses the restrictions on the networks. I'd say the key thing with that aspect of connectivity is to have someone in that local country be able to procure a workaround and test it before the RVI takes place, just to ensure a successful connection and ensure that an RVI again can go ahead with the highest possible quality of video. So that was connectivity and GDPR. And then moving on to GDPR, sorry. We touched on this briefly on one of the earlier topics, but GDPR and privacy is another key challenge that we faced while rolling out our tool. Pre-COVID, when we approached a handful of vendor facilities to trial our RVI tools, there was a lot of pushback in regard to privacy at their facilities. They were concerned with someone walking around their facility with a camera. They didn't want to show other customers' components in the video feed or showing sensitive parts of their facility while carrying out an RVI. And also there were concerns of where the videos that were taken would be stored, and these are all issues that we had to address throughout the period where we were considering which tool to go for and creating the supporting material for our RVIs. So the sort of the key thing here really was to show the skeptic vendors how this technology worked. First of all, give them a really insightful demonstration, allow them to be present for an RVI so they can see exactly how seriously Intertek takes GDPR and privacy. And often the case is, once the vendor saw that they were in complete control of the camera, they had the flexibility to turn it off and on, and they were able to show what needed to be shown and not other sort of areas of their shop floor or things like that, then they more often than not were happy to proceed with RVIs. So obviously we have to also remember that GDPR was a concern when our inspectors were on site and actually operating the cameras themselves. But we need to remember that actually a majority of our total RVIs have been carried out where the vendor is actually the camera operator, and that links back to what I said before about the vendor having full control over what they show to our inspector remotely. So that allowed us to get over some of those GDPR and privacy hurdles. In terms of the documentation and media being stored on our RVI platform, again, Intertek have a very strict data privacy SOP, and that's something we actually built on when we were looking and procuring our RVI tool at the very start, we had a specific SOP created, which obviously ensured that all media, all documents, all files are actually deleted from within the RVI tool after each RVI has finished. So nothing is kept apart from the photos that the inspectors take, obviously, to use in their reports. Apart from that, nothing else is stored beyond the RVI. And that's another way we ensure that data security and privacy is taken very seriously. Moving on, so HSE, another really key issue, and again, when you're this is more focused on when we're talking about using RealWear headsets. So the HMT1 RealWear headset, when you're actually using that on a site, and the reason is because obviously it can be quite restrictive. Having I don't know if any of you have seen the HMT1 headset, but it can be quite restrictive when you have the viewfinder in front of your eye. You know, you can be oblivious to things that are happening around you, and as a result, we had to sort of give alternative means of delivering RVIs to our inspectors. So initially we gave them a hands-free shoulder strap, so that allowed them essentially to have their phone mounted on their shoulder. So it allowed them to be hands-free, and ultimately they could then concentrate on the inspection activities without distraction, and also the environment around them as well, so making sure they're aware of the environment they're working in and any hazards that could impact them. And then from when we switched from inspectors going to facilities to where vendors were operating the camera themselves, that again is where they took control. They had their own HSE policies in place that they could follow in their own sites. And of course, using a mobile phone, you're less restricted when you're wearing compared to when you're wearing the HMT1 RealWear headset. But all of this really links back to our SOP. So everything is sort of predetermined in that SOP, and we determined beforehand that it wasn't safe for inspectors to be walking around a vendor facility with their phone in their hand, you know, recording, or even just wearing the RealWear headset. So this sort of led us to ensure in the SOP that we made a clear point that inspectors were not allowed to film or even use their phone between inspection points. So they go to one inspection point, they record the activity, they pause the video feed, phone in the pocket, walk to the next area, phone out, and then resume inspection recording or RVI recording at that particular point. And as a result, we've managed to maintain 100% HSE record while performing RVIs at vendor facilities. So it just goes to show if you have a strong HSE policy, then accidents and things like that can be avoided. Okay, and then this really sort of moves us on to the last point from my segment, and that's in terms of actually collecting data from RVIs. So there's a sort of a key difference we have to realize here. So as I mentioned earlier, no data from the RVIs is actually kept by Intertek past inspection activities finishing. So no media, no videos, no photographs, no documents, anything like that. However, we do collect information about the RVI itself. So things such as, you know, who the customer was, where the RVI was carried out, which vendor was used for the RVI, the date of the inspection activity, and overall number of RVIs carried out by a particular country within Intertek. So we took that information and we actually took it from our internal operational system that we have within Intertek, and that allowed us to therefore create really informative data dashboards that you're seeing on the screen now. So we could see, you know, which areas of inspection were popular for RVI, which areas weren't as suitable, you know, and which ultimately led us to actually improve our RVI offering to customers. And we also use surveys after each RVI as well. So we sent a survey to both our Intertek inspector and also to the vendor and the customer to gather feedback from their perspective as well. And again, you know, feedback is key when you're talking about digital initiatives like that, as it allows you to sort of, you know, cater your tool and push it in the right direction in terms of future sort of developments and updates. So yeah, so that's really sort of an overall an introduction, and then obviously we've gone through some of the key areas, so connectivity, GDPR, HSE, and then data collection as well. So I'm going to hand over now to the next presenter in the segment, which I believe is Andrea. So over to you, Andrea.
So thank you, Tom, and hello everybody. I'm Andrea Tonus, Operation Team Leader for Intertek and Remote Video Inspection Reference for Italy. In this second part, we will talk about remote video inspection methods and tools, going through some scenarios and case studies. Let's move to the next slide. We will go through the possible remote video inspection methods on site. Each method listed in here increases the remote video inspection level and can fit better to certain activities instead of others. The first point we find is vendor-operated device. It's the simplest form of remote video inspection we can find at the moment. It's based on a mobile phone with standard camera, no particular definition is required, and a remote video inspection platform, which works as a virtual area where all video and content are shared. Usually this kind of platform grants a good compression rate and quality level because the platform itself amplifies connection bandwidth. A simple order like zoom on that point, give me an overview of the item, stop on one section, point at the control monitors or nameplates, or else will be sufficient to effectively live stream the activities. Basically, what happened is that a designated vendor representative will handle the mobile phone as a recording device, just like standard video, and it will be guided by others during live streaming. Maybe an inspector in the office or home-based. On the remote video inspection platform, we can also share all kinds of documents, from Word to PDF to drawings. This increases the chance to effectively share information between all stakeholders. It's important to highlight that this is live streaming, so even if we are using a vendor-operated device, all other parties will have the possibility to record video, take snapshot of the activity. Moving to the next point, the headset or inspector-operated headset. Headsets are basically computer integrated device that allow high performance video recording and picture taking. This means that we can live stream image and details up to 1 mm with a performance that is better than human eye. All video streaming are high definition 4K and are automatically stored on the device and on a shared platform, available for all participants. Headset allows also to have a monitor constantly available in front of you. This kind of device is usually in the hand of an inspector that can add experience to the quality check. The research on the field will be sharing details and information to all stakeholders, not guided by others, but leading the quality check. The next point in the slide is the remote video inspection different tools. So connecting different tools. We will basically integrate different tools during the same activity to complete the required task as a tailored solution. These tools can be selected depending on specific needs: headset or smart glasses, 3D laser scan, 3D metrology, handset scanners, augmented reality, and advanced NDT such as phase array to identify defects that are very little or up to 0.004 mm. The idea is to have eyes and ears on the item while details collected via laser scan are integrated on the same platform at the same time, allowing a better understanding of the situation based, of course, on the specific need of the activity. Moving to the next slide, we're going to talk about RBI lesson learned and case studies. To set up a proper remote video inspection, we have to focus on some topics and actions. In this way, we will speed up the remote video inspection execution, increasing timing and performance. To do so, we have to check the following points: training, connectivity, test type, or site or not. Let's consider it as a lesson learned based on our experience in the past years. Training. The important thing is to let anyone involved be ready for the remote video inspection. This is basic. But for each type of remote video inspection method, we must align anyone involved: vendor, inspector, and stakeholders. This means anyone will be able to move freely on the remote video inspection platform and get the best experience from the RBI execution. Usually, the training is focusing on the streaming live platform that we are using and on the device. We can set up last-minute training and sessions to set up an urgent RBI, that's true, but we suggest to take at least 3 days to align anyone involved. This time we'll consider activity changes and in schedules, on-site check and connectivity, alignment of all involved parties, and evaluation of issues and solution of issues. So training, as usual, is the basic. Then we can move to connectivity. So we have to evaluate the software and device performance. This is a very hot topic because RVI must guarantee a level of information and quality in the audio output and video, allowing all participants to clearly see what's happening on site. Connectivity is part of the RVI settings and must be checked by RVI experts with the vendor or the inspector to confirm the quality standards. It usually requires a quick test on site where vendor or inspector check whether there is a slow or limited connection. It takes up to 15 to 20 minutes and allow everybody to identify and solve issues. Let's repeat something already discussed in the presentation. Using our system and platform, we were able to complete in the past year RVI using mobile connections 4G properly, amplifying the bandwidth even in remote areas. And this was a very successful scenario. Test type. This is very important. Evaluate any particular need. So RVI can be used for a wide variety of test and activity. Our main objective is to identify if there is any special need or requirement linked to the activity we will witness remotely. Our team, together with clients and inspectors, will clarify whether one single device is sufficient, if there is a special need related to a particular test, and how to solve it. Just a few examples. Multiple screen and items with simultaneous monitoring needs. Let's think about pumps, pressure tests, different test bench, motors, or let's think about light quality and details identification, welding, nameplates, hard stamp and markings on metal, or the use of special devices on site like boroscope, PMI device, digital monitor, and the consequent visual rendering. All these examples are just underlying the fact that we need to clearly understand the test type we are carrying out to get the best quality performance in the RVI. The last point is the on-site or not question, what's best? During the past year, we've seen various RVI scenarios. Some customers required to activate RVI having the inspector on site, while others accepted the remote attendance, basically having the inspector home base like all other attendees. The idea behind this decision is linked to the type of test and item we are looking at. RVI must be carefully considered whenever an activity is involving critical items or tests based on outcomes that can be easily modified based on operator actions. A few examples for you. Painting check. Drive DFT outcome can vary depending on where we are using the probe. Welding check. The visual check is specified as an international standard and it requires an on-site attendance and evaluation. In addition to the above, by having the inspector on site, usually vendors are not willing to assign a resource to RVI. This means that the inspector will have to stream the RVI while completing the activity. Well, if we have an inspector on site, we want him to focus on the item and test instead of focus on. By saying this, we just want to underline the fact that activities must be carefully evaluated to properly use the best RVI solution. It's not a one-size-fits-all, but a tailored experience we're looking for, especially on quality. On the next slide, the RVI lesson learned and case studies. Oops, no. Yeah, it was slowed down. Apologize for this. On the next slide, the RVI feedback from customer and inspector. We will talk about some feedback we received from our customer in the past years. And we identified some major topics we shall consider for the RVI experience. So first point, the defect management and time reduction. During the past year, the best feedback was on defect management. On various occasions, RVI was used to quickly clarify defect or issues found on site. This means that even if RVI was not scheduled or else, as soon as the problem was identified, we had the chance to set up the connection and invite the manufacturer and client representative to see what the inspector found on site. This allowed a quick fact check and open a discussion between stakeholders that simplified the action plan to solve the problem. Basically, we reduced to a couple of hours an action point that would have required a couple of days. The other point is the document submission. We are all aware that documents such as test reports or certificates can be issued at a later stage of the test. Some vendors and main vendors are usually involved, and this can easily become a bottleneck when an inspector is not on site, as it will begin a back and forth of documents. This must be avoided, as documents revision, detailed cross-check will be affected. RVI platform allow to share documents like a standard data transfer. By sharing the documents in this way, all stakeholders will have a copy of the documents, and it will also remain digital, speeding up the revision process of final dossier and books. So the idea is we have a platform for RVI that can be used for data and document transfer. These will speed up the issuance of the certificates, issuance of test reports, and all the stakeholders will immediately have a digital copy of every document. There won't be the need to push or escalate and expedite the issuance of the documents, but we will have everything in our hands at the end of this RVI. Activity note is RVI very effective whenever a short must be solved or whenever people from different countries. What we must avoid is using the RVI option as a shortcut to standard procedures for notification and attendance. The fact that RVI can be deployed even with short notice cannot be taken as a way to notify activities or change schedule as we want. Surely, RVI gave more freedom to all participants, but the main objective remained quality and standardization. Experience big and structured companies letting give feedback to the user of RVI. This changed wherever minor companies manufacturer availability is a basic step. We are using recording and streaming device into their premises and workshops, so we must get their green light and authorization. This is something we must consider carefully while planning the activity, as authorization could take longer than expected. The suggestion is to immediately identify all people involved, so to clear the RVI path and answer any question or doubt on the system. A good synergy between final clients and vendors and sub-vendor is suggested, as it simplifies the RVI setup. Moving to the next slide, the last one for this part, we're going to talk about the best practice and suggestions. The following points are best practice and suggestions we wrote down during the past year. The idea is to have a guideline to start using the RVI in a more conscious way for all parties involved. Point 1, procedure. To manage properly the RVI on site, we suggest vendors and manufacturers to issue their internal procedure on RVI management. This will simplify the use of video inspection and define limits and conditions while covering the activities. As Intertek, we have issued an internal SOP, the standard operating procedures, that can be shared with customers and vendors to align everybody on RVI relevant process. This will apply to vendor or to specific project, depending on special needs or special requests for the project. Contracts and PO. RVI options was missing from the majority of orders and contracts, and this gave the possibility to some involved part to deny the use of RVI, slowing down the entire process. It's useful to start adding on the future orders the RVI as an inspection tool. This will be a general reference on the content, followed by specific instruction and procedure as highlighted in the previous point. RVI operator. Each vendor and manufacturer shall identify a team of RVI operators. This will allow the proper RVI planning and management. Having a set of devices like webcam, tablet, smartphone, headset, is able to handle it on site will be more effective in terms of timing and activity execution. And this will also be part of the procedure and would allow a better data management. RVI area, the last point. Our suggestion is to dedicate a specific area to RVI. Depending on the premise, number of test bench, productions area, it will be necessary to identify a specific RVI area and structure it, thinking that in there, video and audio recording would happen. Simple light panels are sufficient to create an isolated area. Adding a few signs saying RVI area video recording ongoing will create a shared awareness of what is happening in the area. Based on items and tests, the RVI area can be prepared considering proper light, connections, free movement area, and so on. So all the above are best practice and suggestions based on our last year's experience. And we will now move to the scenarios and case studies. So I now leave the floor. Thank you for the attention and have a nice day with this webinar.
Hi, my name is James Canham and I am the Regional Business Unit Manager for Intertek Industry Services. I'm going to give an oversight into the new RVI technologies and new tools Intertek is using to work with RVI. Digital transformation initiatives traditionally have focused on digitalizing systems and assets, often leaving humans out of the equation. Intertek's remote video solution focuses on providing their remote working technical specialists with a secure digital connection to enable a comprehensive, safe, and efficient inspection to take place at any location, at any time, using a globally selected digital-enabled remote workforce. Leading analysts have identified the augmented human and immersive experiences as top technologies for 2021. By 2023, it is expected that over 2/3 of testing, inspection, and certification companies will utilize immersive applications to improve efficiency and customer demand, up from less than 1% in 2019. During the pandemic, remote video inspection has become an integral part of Intertek service delivery. The ability to remotely perform inspections has tremendous business impact, from cost savings and productivity to improved customer service, allowing inspections to take place that would not have been possible without this enhancement to our services. Moving forward into where we are now and where we are heading into the future, Intertek are committed to working with their customers and leading edge solution architects to offer the best balanced experience of remote video inspections and in-person inspections, where the two options are best suited for each individual needs. Using the method that has been standard practice for Intertek inspection and audit data can be collected manually, Intertek has used this historical inspection data collected over many years that is available in different formats and in many instances unstructured, to provide insights on supplier quality and non-conformance statistics or equipment, either to a defined project or customer for a specific purpose. The processes used in the past to gather and structure this data was complicated, time-consuming, and inefficient. Recently, Intertek have been using data collected electronically using the Intertek e-reporting, a standardized digital reporting platform with structured data sets. It will become much more efficient, reliable, and instantaneous to access this data in many forms, such as customer bespoke dashboards that can use this extracted data, but also integrate this with data from other sources to provide rich data sets for all requirements. These innovations Intertek are taking is just the beginning of our journey into unlocking the potential of captured inspection data. The more that stakeholders across the supply chain of the oil and gas industry align with these processes and allow the data to be used in an effective way, the greater the opportunity the industry as a whole has in providing class-leading safety, efficiency, and overall cost reduction with digital transformation. Intertek is leading the way in digital transformation adoption, but as an entire industry, we must embrace a culture of change to allow this to occur. And the global uptake of these enhancements in the past year has provided the initiation of this change, which is destined to stay. While the oil and gas industry lags others in adopting digitalization, it is reassuring to see increasing interest from both operators and vendors in adopting remote video inspection technology. With bespoke electronic reporting tools that incorporate remote video inspection into a shared platform, rather than using off-the-shelf adapted video conferencing tools, Intertek are able to capture inspection data in real time with interaction with vendor, client, and technical personnel, all attending the inspection remotely at the same time. This allows questions to be asked and technical clarification of data at the point of inspection, improving both quality and manufacturing time of equipment, whilst increasing safety and minimizing unnecessary travel in many instances. One of the key areas we see remote inspection overtaking traditional in-person inspection is populating QR codes, with asset data from raw material through manufacturing and into operations and maintenance to track, scan, and build a profile of the asset through its entire life cycle. This advanced technology also enables Intertek technical specialists or plant personnel to retrieve information of any given asset when needed and allow them to update the data if required. For example, remote workers can see and manage work orders, set priorities of each work order, perform an inspection or audit, and scan barcode, QR code to get the associated data from a particular asset. One key element of using these highly specific QR codes will not only enable the Intertek technical specialist to efficiently scan the asset data into their report, but also allow historical information previously obtained about that asset to be accessed and used during the inspection itself. Access to the asset QR codes can be accomplished remotely by drone, robotic device, or by local personnel to allow the remote user to visualize and inspect the equipment without being physically present, allowing access to all the historic information and allowing them to enter new data from the inspection directly into the asset database for trending and historic purposes. Crucially, it can allow any operator to participate in the inspection or audit from any location. In addition, any technical issues can be discussed directly with the supplier to identify potential improvements to productivity and better support decision-making or reduce potential delay, without the additional impacts or concerns for the well-being of personnel, operational carbon footprint, or any increased costs associated with scheduling and travel. Another angle Intertek are exploring with some key clients is the use of immersive technology mixed reality headsets. Be that augmented or virtual reality, the use of augmented reality is most likely to be adopted, as augmented reality is an immersive technology that helps to superimpose artificial objects in real environment and makes the virtual object look real. The technology uses computer-generated graphics, objects, images, and sensors to do this. With the introduction of exciting new products such as the Microsoft HoloLens 2, using mixed reality headsets allows collaboration across locations with many other technical authorities, much the same way that existing remote video inspection works. However, it will also provide the user with an upgraded immediate work environment wherein they can overlay schematics, visualize documentation, or associated assets with underlying data, enabling hands-free sharing of visual data, so you can solve problems quickly and collectively. Collected data can then be updated and securely provided to an uninterrupted path to a virtual collaboration. According to the prediction of Goldman Sachs, augmented reality will have a US $80 billion market in the oil and gas industry by 2025. According to ABI research, it is estimated that the energy and utility sector will account for 17% of global smart glass shipments in 2018. The total AR market revenues for the energy and utility industry are expected to grow to $18 billion by 2022, with the platform and licensing and smart glasses hardware comprising the majority. Another example where Intertek has used RVI is where Intertek Surveying Services undertook a scan of a blowout preventer in Mississippi, USA. This picture shows the live scan of the asset using the handheld scanner, part of Intertek's Deep View 3D. While the technician can watch the scan using augmented reality viewer on a RealWear headset with an RVI-enabled smart glass camera showing the actual BOP in the bottom right. This is all transmitted via live stream to personnel watching in Houston, USA, together with the voice communication. Also, using RVI, it should be possible to capture the required data to build a digital twin, a virtual representation of a physical object. Metadata tags can then be added to this data for comparing asset integrity of time and even creating virtual asset stores to reduce the need to hold physical objects in storage. As well as traditional methods of remote video inspection collection, there are a number of alternative techniques available for deployment. These solutions enable the safe, timely, and effective collection of visual inspection data, helping to maintain asset integrity. These options include, but are not limited to, drones. Using a variety of cameras, difficult to access assets can be inspected efficiently and effectively using drone technology. Accurate and repeatable inspections can be completed using programs or manual flight operations. Crawler systems. Robotic crawlers provide a safe and convenient method for accessing hard-to-reach areas. These can be operated via remote control or pre-programmed to follow a set path at a range of up to 1 kilometer from the operator where required. These can travel inside pipework, on vertical surfaces, or inverted surfaces using a range of sophisticated centralization or magnetic adhesion solutions. Fixed cameras. Fixed cameras lend themselves to a variety of applications. As a basic measuring tool, these can be positioned to allow detailed visual inspection, integrated lighting, remote angle control, and HD real-time footage to ensure optimal visual inspection results no matter what the environment is. New tools and Intertek market inspection 4.0. Riskaware. By addressing the total cost of quality and safety risks can be mitigated through robust and proactive inspection programs. However, challenges lie in the enhancement and interaction of quality assurance and quality control activities. Customers purchasing equipment want inspection programs to be more efficient and cost-effective as they recognize the importance of Intertek's extensive data relating to the performance of global oil and gas CapEx equipment vendors and suppliers. By using the data collected proactively to pinpoint areas for increased focus while reducing spend on lower risk areas, Intertek helps customers make informed inspection decisions. As a global leader in vendor surveillance for many years, Intertek has accumulated a wealth of information and insights that we can customize into a holistic approach focused on total quality assurance. This approach to risk mitigation can address three key areas of the supply chain by evaluating equipment criticality ratings, vendor risk assessment, and intelligent-driven inspection data plans based on risk-based approach, mitigating the risks identified in the equipment and vendor assessments. The history of non-conformance rates, punch list data, defect reasons, rectification timing, delivery overruns, and other observations on the suppliers that we have visited can be summarized to highlight areas that warrant more or less attention. Focus areas could include equipment types, supplier locations, component sub-suppliers, countries, and other factors in today's complex web of supply chains. Intertek 4.0 builds on Intertek's structured technologies to deliver class-leading total quality assurance to all our customers. This includes digital and detailed data collection in field by our global team of qualified technical specialists, expertise and insights to improve all aspects of quality from our business development team, leading to improved customer visibility and cost savings without compromise. Customers can access and visualize their data on tailored dashboards, view reports, and see the current project status in their own dedicated customer portal. Intertek uses a bespoke global integrated workflow management system, Evolution, to drive the business forward, and this acts as the primary tool for our operations team. E-reporting is the field-based offline application used by our dedicated team of technical specialists in the field to collect the inspection data electronically and submit their time and expenses. Riskaware is the big data analytics tool for technical quality assurance insights. Review and moderation portal, RAMP, is where the inspection documentation is reviewed by a team of subject matter experts before being delivered to the customer. Remote video inspection enables inspections and audits to happen where travel and access either are not permitted or deemed unnecessary for other reasons. All of these tools help Intertek provide improved quality, identifying defects and non-conformities before they enter the supply chain, providing total quality assurance to all our customers. Thank you.
Do you think remote video inspection is going to become a valid long-term replacement for on-site activities?
Thank you, Virginia, for the question. So remote video inspection as valid replacement for on-site activities. Yeah, very interesting question. Let me say that I believe we must consider RVI as a tool we are using in our toolbox. That means that if we want to consider it as something that will replace the eyes, ears, let me say, of quality inspectors and people on the field, well, this is not the final scope. There are plenty of positive outcome related to the, to the physical distance and the virtual attendance of someone who is maybe office-based or home-based. But we always have to consider that we are looking for quality, and this is the main objective. So RVI must be considered as value to the activities we are completing. So if we are keeping this as our main focus point, we are gonna build something that's gonna increase our possibilities. And as we said in the presentation, we are gonna reduce time of execution. We're gonna reduce time of solution of problem and issues on site by just switching on a camera or a remote device. But the idea, let me underline it, is to constantly have remote video inspection or every kind of tool as an additional tool to what we are doing physically on site, because this is creating value. This is adding value to the quality we're providing. We're not trying to find shortcuts or else. We are looking for the best experience possible. And in my opinion, we do not have to look for a long-term replacement for the activities on site. We have to think about it as a new way, a new solution, something new we can apply to the quality inspection, so to bring home the best outcome possible.
Thank you all speakers of today for their good presentation.
Okay, so Virginia, if there's no other questions, allow me to thank you for the time and the opportunity, the great opportunity Valve Campus gave us. I think that we can have other and additional questions whenever everyone wants. So I think that you will share some contacts or else, but we are always available for this kind of situation opportunities. And guys, if you want to add something and say hello to the audience, that's fine.
Thank you so much for everybody. I'm glad to have participated in this event. Until next time.
I wish you all a very nice day. Bye-bye.